not a thought of giving in. I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. Win it, take a swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank, where the Chris Hanks. I'm going to put it all together, this is big things. Doing big things, chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real, this life's all that it seems. All the chicks scream, all the dudes yell. This is just what I do and I do it well. With the flow fresher than the new shoe smell. Going through hell, well homie keep going. You know the saying, you can reap what you're sowing. So I don't chase girls, I just chase dreams. Play the same game, but we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever, the results match.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Oz Digital Studio, where we film the Boca Raton Shrimp Tank in collaboration with the FAU Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. We got Dr. Roland Kidwell in the shrimp tank today. Roland, how are you doing this afternoon?
Fantastic. How are you, Jason?
I'm doing good. It's been a good week. I took my first vacation in over a year. I got the in-laws in town. I headed out to Fort Lauderdale Beach. You know, it was beautiful down there, and it is cooking down here in South Florida. I cannot believe it. The hotels are absolutely filled to the brim, and so are the restaurants. Have you been noticing this?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
yes,
and
I have.
And businesses. Oh, my God. I mean, every person I talk to is, you know, discussing should they come down here and create a business or buy a business. And there's a lot of funding going on down here, correct?
Things are definitely happening in South Florida. Absolutely.
What's heating up right now at FAU? I heard some big news. The business plan competition was last week.
We did. We had our finals of our business plan competition. We had some great judges to start with, several of whom have been guests on the Shrimp Tank: Jan Bednar, Lee Schuster-Froman, Ellie Mansarawala, and a couple of other folks.
Some of my favorites.
Yeah, they were judges. It was fantastic to get them in there with the students, and we had 5 great presentations. We did a hybrid. We actually met face-to-face with a Zoom option, and went relatively well, as these hybrid things tend to go. But we had the first ever 3-way tie for runner-up. The judges couldn't pick second and third, and they liked that fourth, so they had 3 runners-up. And we had a winner pretty clearly, Marine Connects, which is an app and development prototype that connects boaters to people in the marine industry. And then the other 3 were great as well, but they couldn't differentiate between those, so we gave 3 runner-up prizes. And I think the really cool thing about this was the winner, 20-year-old junior, and the 3 runners-up, one of them was an MBA student who had a business started. It's a Serenity gift box, or calming gift boxes, seasonal gift boxes, and she's running the business, has revenue. And then the other 2 were from FAU High School, taking joint courses here at FAU. One was 16 years old, one was 18 years old. So that was really cool, I think, to have that diversity of age and the different students who were involved in the business plan competition. And it was again, our 13th year, very successful, and we like to build on that and keep going into the future. So I think we got a lot of good students here. We're building up mentor programs here at FAU. We're doing our boot camp in the summer for the first time, starting May 19th. Be more information out on that. So things are cool. They're really going forward.
That's pretty cool. It's awesome to see some of our Shrimp Tank gang at the FAU headquarters over here. Did they come in person, or did they do it all on Zoom?
Yeah, they were in person. They were here at a large classroom across the way here in this new Schmidt family complex, where we have executive education classes. And, yeah, maybe a room seating 120. There were probably about 10 of us in there. So, you know, we're spread out.
Nice. So let's jump into our guest today. Every week we come out to the Shrimp Tank. We interview the best and brightest entrepreneurs down here in South Florida, finding the do's and don'ts of running a business. You catch the 140-plus episode these days up on shrimptankpodcast.com, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts, or, of course, at Shrimp Tank Boca on Facebook Live. So today we're going to learn all about real estate. I'm excited because real estate is cooking all over the United States, and especially down here in South Florida. So we got Bonnie Heatzig in the house. And Bonnie, your company is your name, Bonnie Heatzig, PA. So tell us all about, what your company is about, what is going on with real estate right now in South Florida.
Okay, Jason. So I am a luxury real estate authority, an agent in the industry here in the Boca Raton area. I've been practicing real estate for over 20 years, and no doubt, real estate is as hot as it's ever been. A lot of this is induced by COVID. It's driven a lot of people from the Northeast and even California. First time we've seen such an inflow of folks from California relocating to South Florida. And it's really been remarkable, and it's just exploded here in South Florida.
So they're not only coming from New York, they're coming from California.
Surprisingly, yes. And I've been in real estate for over 20 years, and occasionally I would see a relo come in from California, but now we have a steady stream coming in from California.
And is that a tax issue?
It's a tax issue, and it's. I've had some young families who have children in school, and they want their kids in the classroom, and we are welcoming these folks with open arms. We really are. We're
What
so
type of
thrilled.
occupations do they have when they come from California? Is it most of these folks that are in tech that are able to work from home because they're not going into the office anymore in California?
Right? Yes, for
Yep.
sure. And I wouldn't say exclusively tech. I mean,
Sure.
there are folks in other businesses, but businesses are relocating from California down here to South Florida, and that's true also from New York. I moved some other folks down from Wisconsin. So these tax incentives are proving to be drawing a lot of people in. And when a company comes down, the CEO comes down, the CFO comes down, the employees come down. So I think it's really feeding our economy across the board.
Is this South Florida exclusively or all of Florida?
Well, I focus in the South Florida market. I focus in the Boca Raton area, and I can tell you for sure it's here. And we have such a booming area here. Here in Boca Raton, we are nestled between Miami and West Palm Beach. We have access to airports. We have fabulous dining in Miami, fabulous dining in Boca. If you want to go to the Kravis Center for just spectacular cultural events in West Palm, and West Palm Beach is also exploding. We have so much to offer
I'm
here.
ready to move down
I'm
here,
telling
Bonnie.
you.
I'm trying to tell you, I'm ready to move down.
I
Let me
mean,
ask
it's
you a
exciting.
question, though. Are you fearful about this being a bubble, and why or why not? We had 10, 12 years ago, we had a complete collapse. What's going to stop that from happening with this situation?
Well, and I've been asked that question before. And for this reason, I don't believe it's a bubble. I definitely anticipate that we will continue, our real estate will continue to appreciate, and we will continue having people come down here. We are and always have been a destination. People are coming here. We're not in the middle, landlocked in the middle of America. We have so much to offer with the beaches and our warm weather. So people want to be here in South Florida. COVID was an eye-opener to so many people. They said, I'm spending so much time at home, and it's dreary out, and it's cold, and I have nowhere to go. And then they turn on the TV, and they show South Florida, and while we were distancing and continue to distance, people are outside jogging, and they're enjoying themselves. They're taking a walk by themselves and distancing on the beach, feeling the fresh air in shorts and in flip-flops.
So it's more of a migration. That's what's
I
going. That's
find
the game changer here.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I think we are going to continue. Look, the rate of, that people are coming down, that may slow down, but I don't think we're headed for, for a decline of what we've been seeing.
And how is the luxury market? Of course, home, single family, 250 to a million. Of course, there's no inventory at all. But what about the upper stuff, 5 million and above, let's say, because you deal with a lot of that.
Yes.
How's that market?
So we're just exploding.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. And with the luxury market, a lot of people are coming in from New York City, for example. Well, the New York City real estate is, for beautiful, beautiful homes in the city, you're at 50, 60 million dollars. So our prices at 10, 15, 20 million. We look pretty good. So these folks are coming in, and of course, they're all cash buyers at the luxury level for the most part. And it's a very popular market. People, again, from all over, from the whole spectrum, from first-time home buyers to people who are actually ready to get a fourth home here or a third home, or make it their primary residence. They're appreciating our space down here.
First-time home buyers can spend $10 million.
No, I'm saying from the whole spectrum, right? From absolute low end, first time home buyer, all the way to the high luxury market. But the luxury market's been on fire, no
Come on,
doubt.
Roland. Look up what's going on with Bitcoin. There's all these 21-year-old to 30-year-olds killing it, and they're coming in with cash.
Well, I got to tell you, that's really an interesting point, Jason, because we are starting to see people show proof of funds in cryptocurrencies.
Ooh. Interesting.
And, we're hearing so much about Bitcoin now in the news. It is really starting to, not yet, and I've had offers made on my luxury properties in cryptocurrency, and people are reluctant. Sellers, my sellers anyway, have not really been there yet. I have heard of a few transactions where they have used Bitcoin down in Miami, so it's not completely off the table. Some people are open-minded. It's a little risky. I think once people gain familiarity with cryptocurrency and with Bitcoin, and just see less of a risk, because we're seeing such peaks and falls with it in the market. There's that risk factor. But, now in the MLS, when you put in a listing and you typically say, that your seller would accept cash or financing, there's now a box for cryptocurrency.
Really?
So
you learn
not
something new every week here in
too
the
far
Shrimp Tank.
off.
Look at that.
Interesting.
So you're very passionate about this, obviously. Talk a little bit, since it's about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs. How did you become an entrepreneur? I mean, you're entrepreneurial. You were a lawyer before this, but how did you get into this and become entrepreneurial enough to kind of go with this?
Right. That's a great question. So in the beginning, I was practicing law. I was happy practicing law. I really wasn't looking to move professions, but my husband and I at the time thought we might want to list our house. So we brought in a few realtors and we interviewed them. And I really thought, you know what? I could do this. And this would be so fun for me. I don't know if it's a good idea if I represent myself in my own house, but this is really interesting. And because I'm a lawyer, I did not have to sit for the 6 or 8 week course. All I had to do was go and take an exam. And the exam was about 75% real estate law. So for me, that was an easy transition. I passed. And the next thing I know, I just started selling real estate. And my first deal was somebody that I know, one of the guards. I live, in South Florida here. We have so many gated communities. And one of the guards in front of our community owned a small efficiency that was one of 14 on the ocean. And he said, Hurricane Wilma came through and just demolished all of these. Half of them are condemned by the city. We can't live in them, and they don't have the money to fix them up. So we're going to sell the whole apartment complex. Would you represent us? And I said, you bet. And it was my first listing. It was $10.5 million for 200 foot of oceanfront property. And by golly, I sold it. I couldn't believe it. And I was cheering. And it's just taken off from there, and really in the luxury market. So as an entrepreneur, I leveraged that sale. I really worked that to my advantage, and it gave me a lot of confidence. And then I started building on that business. And every time I got a listing, I marketed that I had that listing. It's about branding yourself, getting your name out there. And people don't see it, they can't see it once. They'll never remember it. But if you get to the same market and you reach that same target over and over and over again, pretty soon they say, wow, this Bonnie Heatzig, she's something else. I've read about her. I think I know her. And it's funny how that branding works. So I just capitalized on one sale after the next, never stopped believing
How did you
in
do the
myself.
branding? Was this at the social media time, or
No,
how did you do this?
So I did this through direct mail. And what I did is I knew just instinctually, I never even read it, but I knew branding was important, because what's going to just distinguish me from all these other realtors? So I thought, if I'm going to spend the money and put a direct mail piece together, I want it to look the same every single time, so that something would resonate with the receiver of my piece of mail. And, over probably 5 or 6 rounds of mailing of the same template, different pictures because I'm promoting different properties, but they're seeing my logo, my name in that same sort of format. And it just kind of, it stuck. I mean, it really gained momentum, and it was very, very exciting. This whole opportunity to be an entrepreneur, when you find that segment of the market where you can unleash that drive. And for me, real estate did that. I was a lawyer and I was happy. And as a lawyer, if it's right for you, you can unleash your drive in law because the law is a beautiful profession. But for me, it was being an entrepreneur, being my own boss, just being accountable to myself and going for those results those goals I set for myself.
So since the first sale was $10 million, you stayed in that market, right?
I definitely was able to. And look, don't get me wrong. I mean, I was new in the market and not every sale in the beginning was a multi-million-dollar sale. I remember going up and driving up to Jupiter, and I had a client looking for $150,000, a home back then. And I had as much passion showing them properties up in the Jupiter area as I did, with that first big sale. I just love the profession.
Are you more of a buyer's agent or sellers or both?
I do both, but people have me list their homes, so I represent more sellers than I do buyers. And again, it goes to the marketing, and it's all important. It's the way you present the home. So when you sit in for a listing appointment and you're being interviewed by a seller, you really want to demonstrate to them that you have the posture, the caliber of intelligence that you can sell their property and get that top dollar.
So what is your trick to get the listings, right? Right now, everyone would love listings, but they can't get them. And it's so hard to become a realtor right now because you can't even get listings. And when you represent a buyer, homes are gone before you even get to bring your buyer to the front doors pretty much, right?
Right,
so kind of explain your tricks, what makes you special. Is it just all your years experience or you're doing something unique behind the scenes and it's built up and grown and scaled since?
In large part, I would say at this point, it's all word of mouth. It's referrals. It's people. It's getting, having a social media presence, a Facebook presence, really getting yourself out there. Let people know who you are and that you are active in the business every single day. Continue to market yourself, even though, the inventory is dwindling now. Never give up on yourself, even if the market's not giving you all the materials. You just go to the market.
So if you're going to give advice to someone joining your profession right now, what would you tell them? Because right now, it seems like almost impossible, right? You join, you can't get listings that easily, and it just every home gets snatched up in South Florida that quickly. So what would you tell someone that's joining your profession right now?
I would tell them nothing is impossible. Go in, have a plan, and let your drive take over. Market, have confidence in yourself. And if you don't have a listing to send out to people or to market, give people good information about real estate. There is always something you could do and attach your name to it, a creative piece about real estate, and just jump in. It's like that jump rope. And, think of two people on the ends of a jump rope and swirling the jump rope. You've just got to jump in and then just go with it.
And how has COVID affected things when it comes to marketing? Because, every event I would go to, realtors, of course, are running around introducing themselves, and it's an in-person experience, right? You get to meet someone, and they're like, I really like that person, and then an opportunity comes up and they call that person back. But now that's all shut off, right? So that's why it's also hard for new people joining. So it's like the people that are successful, and same thing on my end, I'm in the financial service space. The people at the top are getting larger and larger, and the people at the bottom, it's just they're joining and then quitting really quickly, we're noticing. And of course there's LinkedIn, but it's difficult. So is there any tricks on, I guess, social media, on LinkedIn, marketing strategies, because all these events have been canceled? Or are the events going on? They're just virtual, I guess.
Yeah, so the real estate industry has adapted, and they're doing a lot of Zoom and a lot of in-person. I think you have a really good point as far as realtors. When you find a realtor that you like and you trust, that relationship, people turn to that person again and again and again. So I can see that there would be hurdles for somebody that's starting new. But I would say maybe start with videos, because you want to be able to convey your message in a way as if you were speaking to them person to person. But in the absence of being able to do that, I would say, try to just be creative, and maybe through a video, you could just make that kind of connection.
So I got to ask, are you on TikTok, Bonnie?
I am on TikTok.
There we go. Can we get Roland on TikTok?
Yeah,
Roland
Roland.
joined Instagram about a year ago. He's the shrimp doctor.
Can
we get him on TikTok? Start posting
think
weekly?
so, yes. And I happen to do home tours, but I'm sure you've got a plethora.
So let's set this up. Roland's got a gold shrimp. We'll bring him over to a $10, $20 million mansion that you're representing.
I like it.
And we'll put our rap song on, and we'll do his first dance on TikTok.
I've been a guest star on enough of my daughter's TikTok videos to gladly pass on that great opportunity.
It's all good. I'm just trying to just spread into the different platforms, and TikTok is a great way to just give somebody a quick preview of a home, and just again a chance to get your name out there on a social platform.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from one of our sponsors. When we get back, we're going to jump into our newest segment called Future Focused.
Hiring is a challenge for any company. If you had to cancel in-person career fairs due to coronavirus restrictions, or you're looking for ways to reach more qualified candidates, it's time to speak to the virtual hiring event professionals at Premier Virtual. Their best-in-class virtual event platform has powered over 1,500 events. They have the experience and proven results to ensure your next career fair is a success. Visit premiervirtual.com or call 561-717-9717. That is 561-717-9717. Premier Virtual, the future-focused virtual event platform. And that segues us into the future-focused segment of today's Shrimp Tank. So, Bonnie, tell us, how do you go about finding the right people for your organization's needs now, and how do you plan to do that in the future?
I am always somebody who appreciates a strong referral. People who know people, and people who have proven their success to people that I trust. So that has worked for me in the past, and I think unless something revolutionary comes around, I'm going to chart the same path for the future.
So it's more of a personal approach. You don't have to cast a wide net to get potential applicants. It's more for you. It's
right. I mean, the people who are close to my business are critical to me. They are such important pieces of my business that I really do need to trust. I don't want to go through a process where I kiss a lot of frogs before I meet that right fit for my business. I trust in the people that I respect, and their recommendations are gold to me.
So let's peel back the onion. Explain your team. Who does what you outsource, right? Outsourcing is huge today. I see someone with your PR firm in the audience right now, right? So we're all doing some stuff in-house, outsourcing certain items. Explain, the details of your practice.
I like to focus on what I do best, which is selling homes. But as you know, there's so many different facets of running a real estate business that you can't do everything well. So I do outsource certain aspects of my business, including social media, although I'm on social media. But putting together the graphics and the content, I approve it before it goes out, but I don't assemble it. So all those things that seem to take up extra time, I really try to divvy those out. The same with my direct mail campaigns and my brochures for properties. Look, I I know what I want. They understand my templates. They understand my logo and how I like to present things. So when you're in a relationship with somebody who's part of your business long enough, they understand what you need. And so they very effectively handle all of these pieces. What I do differently is that when you hire me to represent you and your property, I show those properties. I'm there every single time for every single showing. I don't believe that you should pay me as much as you do, and I put a lockbox on it. I need to sell your property.
So that was my biggest pet peeve when I moved down here 4 years ago. I went to look at real estate, and these properties were not inexpensive. And you show up at a $500,000 to $1 million home with a lockbox on it.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand it.
Right.
I was like, this is not happening in New York. I'm like, why would someone give a listing to somebody just to put a lock and key on there, right, and take some photos? I mean,
Right.
I think photos have been commoditized today. You know, we all have iPhones, right? And you could hire someone for $500, take amazing photos, drone footage,
Right.
and post it on MLS. So I was like, I didn't understand that, right?
Right.
So I love that you will not do that. You know,
Absolutely.
no
And
way.
the art is in the sale. And that's the fun of it. And I get to meet you. And honestly, when I connect with you as a buyer and I'm representing this house, I can show you things that I love about this house that maybe you never thought of, or maybe you didn't even notice it. So that's my role, to point out all these fascinating things or fabulous things about this house. Let me tell you about the community. If there's a lockbox in the door, who's going to tell you about the community? What's so great about this area and why this area could really work for you? So that's what I enjoy. And so that is what makes me different. I'm not on a team. I'm with myself, and I do work all the time, but I can tell you, I love it. I can be on the ski slopes and I am answering my phone and I am there. I mean, and,
So is there a difference when you represent a $10 million home versus a $1 million home? Like what goes into it, or very similar?
You know what? With the $1 million home, you'll have a lot more details about the intricacies of the house and things of that nature. Maybe more information, but the passion's the same, and you present it the same, and you sell it with as much fervor as you would one or the other.
In the $10 million homes, the buyers are easier, right?
Well,
Sometimes when you go lower, it's like you get killed. I mean, you see this in all types of industries. It's like you think just because it's more expensive, it's going to be harder. But actually, sometimes the larger ones are easier.
Yeah.
You know, the buyers know what they want. They come in with
Right,
cash.
right.
And they understand how to sign contracts quicker. And sometimes the smaller the sale, $100,000 condo, you're like, what is going on here? Like they're not signing. They're stalling. They ghost you. It's just... So it could be interesting, right? I'm assuming.
Yes. Well, so now my focus after all these years, I am exclusively in the luxury market. And I can tell you, I enjoy working with this clientele. They are all, for the most part, just wonderfully accomplished. They have the most exciting stories, how they got to where they are. You know, the hard work and their journey to me is so interesting, and I learn from them. It's such an opportunity to listen and learn. And it's just it's a great market, and they're looking similarly for high caliber services. So it's not a piece of cake. It's not a walk in the park. They definitely expect you to know your marketplace, to know your numbers, to set that price right, and then to deliver that price to them. So there are high expectations, but
And they want you to pick up that phone if you're on vacation.
you're darn right they do.
For sure.
And that's why I'm happy to
in
do
these
it.
kinds of listings, do you do anything like a virtual tour to let people look at these houses before they might come out there?
Yes.
Is that something that
Right.
How big is
Videos.
that?
Videos are helpful, and I do my videos a little bit differently. I mean, some people just do the pictures, but I like to be in the video myself. So I'm taking you as
So
if
you narrate a tour, a home tour.
Exactly.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous. This is sort of what you're doing here.
exactly.
Interesting.
And yes.
Now, what do I have to do to prove to you that I'm worthy of buying one of these houses? If I come to you and I say, I would like to see this $10 million home over here, because I talk about this all the time.
Right.
You know, go down to the street to the intercoastal, and I want to get that one. That's $5 million. I'm only in a $1 million thing.
Right.
So,
we
how do I get
request,
in? What do I have to do?
We do request proof of funds. And, I have never really had a problem with a real buyer giving me proof of funds. That's just a simple letter from a banker. I don't need to know how much you have, but just a statement that you have funds in excess of whatever the house is that you're looking to tour, just so I know that we're working with somebody that is qualified.
At what price level does that start where proof of funds occur?
A lot of things, I would say, when you're working, either I request that as the seller's agent, or if there is a buyer's agent, and I can tell you in our marketplace, certainly in the upper echelon luxury market, we all work very cooperatively with each other. And there's a good handful of buyer's agents that I work with very frequently, and I know they vet all of their clients, and I feel comfortable. So I don't need to double up on what they've already done. And, it's just really having that very good working relationship with your colleagues in the industry, or if the buyer comes to you directly, if you don't know them personally or know of somebody who knows them personally, then I have no question, and it doesn't bother me at all to ask for proof of funds.
What percentage of these houses would you say people are living in year-round, and what percentage are vacation or partial year residences?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I would say, in the condominium market, more of the luxury condominiums, it's probably a second or third home for most of them. In the high end. But I would say that they don't just come during season. These are people that really enjoy Florida all year round. They just might come for a long weekend here or there, 2 weeks here, or an extended stay there, consistently throughout the year. With the single family homes, I do find that it's more often than not their primary residence, and maybe for tax purposes or to homestead the property. And then they spend their, summers in the Hamptons or Aspen, and they travel elsewhere, but maintaining a principal single family home residence here in South Florida.
Bonnie, you have someone close to you in the shrimp tank today. Paige is sitting in, and she has a question for you.
Okay. Hi, Paige. Yes.
Hi, Bonnie. How much value does it add to a house when you stage it or sell it furnished?
Great question. That's a very that's a trend that's really just been on fire. I have actually had experiments where I've had very high-end listings, and they were vacant. And the owners at first were reluctant, when I recommended, let's stage this property. It's an investment, and they held back. And then when they finally came around and they said, okay, we're going to give this a shot. And I can tell you, I sell those properties that are staged so much quicker. People need to see context. And, staging, it's not with very strong furniture. It's, very muted white couches, maybe a seagrass rug. You're just trying to give context to the different rooms. And when it's done tastefully, it makes a huge difference, and really can make that sale come along a lot quicker.
Okay, we're going to jump into our hot or not segment of the show now. So on this portion, we're going to ask you a question, dive into why it's hot or not. Okay. So let's talk about pools for a second.
Okay.
Is it hot or not, let's say, to build a pool if you're thinking about selling in the next 2 years, because a lot of buyers want to buy a house with a pool, or is that going to hurt your value, let's say, in the future, or not really get back your return? So building a pool before you sell the home, hot or not?
Hot.
It is.
Definitely. People love pools, and now we've got a lot of folks coming in from the Northeast, and they love the idea of having a pool in your backyard. It's part of that Florida lifestyle. So I would say pools are hot.
So you will get back your money, is what you're saying.
I do believe you will.
If you own a $4 million home and you're like, I'm going to buy a pool for $300,000-$400,000 in the backyard to match, of course, the price of the home, you'll get that value back.
I do, absolutely. If you don't have a pool, I think people will say, where's the pool? And then you're dead in the water. But I think if you invest in a nice pool, and it doesn't have to be crazy elaborate, but just a beautiful, and right now what's in are those pools with very low, not big lips, just very clean lines. It doesn't need to be a big rock garden and a water slide going into the pool. But yes, pools are hot.
How about tiki huts?
Of course they're hot. Come on, Roland.
Well, I would say not.
No
As
tiki,
far
that's
as return on your investment, I think just having a beautiful covered outdoor space, I don't think you need all of the flair of a tiki hut to really get that money back. But
What about turf? Right, turf is expensive,
And
it
turf
looks
is
amazing,
in.
right?
Yes,
but is it
looks
really
great.
hot? If you're gonna list the home to throw in turf, if it's say $10 per square foot, right? Is it hot to do it? Are you really gonna get that money back when you sell? What do you think? Hot or not?
I think it's hot.
You still think it's hot?
I
Okay.
do think it's hot. I know it's expensive, but the curb appeal of your home is critical. People are going to judge your home the minute they drive up to your driveway. They're starting to decide whether they like this home or they don't like this home. So whether it's turf, beautiful fresh flowers, just maintaining a clean exterior is paramount.
How hot is it? I guess it probably is in terms of buying the home, tearing it down, building a new one. How much of that do you do?
There is a lot of that. So you really need to look at the house. I mean, there are some homes that are the exterior elevation is just so much of an old style, and the interior also of very much of an old style. If you can't retrofit it, it's hard. Once you start putting money in, you don't want to go down a primrose path and really start putting more and more money in if you're not going to get the money back. Sometimes it's best if you just take it down and start new, and then you really, for a brand new construction, and that's all the rage right now too, new construction.
Right.
People love it, that new contemporary transitional style. That's very, very popular. So you have to make a business decision. Is the house, can you change the exterior and the interior without going over what the home will be worth at the end of that day?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at everything on a case-by-case basis.
Hot or not, naming your house or estate.
Hot if it is a notable estate. Otherwise, if it's just, a home that's, in a subdivision or a planned urban development where they have a lot of the same homes, it's not really worthy. But when you have a very special, unique home, for example, I have one of my listings. It's a $9 million estate. When the gentleman built this, he bought 2 houses next together, 2 lots, brought it down to the ground, and built this home piece by piece. Some of the floors are from a 900-year-old church from France, brought over the floor and really created a museum. And in the interior is just millions of dollars worth of pieces from Sotheby's and Christie's, truly a museum. And so we call that Villa Museo. And in fact, that's got a lot of fabulous coverage on all of the biggest newspapers here in South Florida, just because it is iconic. And so for those iconic homes, I would say naming your home, hot.
Roland, we got to put a big shrimp on top of your house. So one day,
No,
we're like home of the shrimp doctor. And then when it goes up for sale one day, we're like, that's where the shrimp doctor used to live.
I already
we'll get
had
30% more profit out of it. Come
I
on,
already
Roland.
had a castle in Wyoming named after me.
Oh, tell
And
us
we
more,
sold
Roland.
it. No, it was it was a $500,000 house in Laramie, Wyoming, and it was considered a whale. In other words, it was one of the most expensive houses in the area. No, it was $500,000, right?
Right.
But out in the middle of nowhere, really. Not really, but 10 miles out of town.
But
It's a great
Wyoming
place.
is so beautiful.
Oh, yeah, 4,300 square feet at $500,000. They didn't get a deal like that down here? I didn't have waterfront, though. That was
Oh, boy.
Let's jump into hot or not hiring a PR agency, right? You don't see that often in your field. And I'm going to put you on the spot, of course. Someone's sitting in here.
Right. Well, it's all good, there are definitely some firms that have PR in-house, or, you could initiate your own PR and you could generate it. I've reached out to different people. Once I get a relationship through somebody and it's a reporter with one of the big newspapers, I absolutely maintain that relationship. That's so important. And I let that reporter know I am here. I am available to you. Anytime you need a quote, she knows that I have the credibility and I have the facts behind me. So, you just want to always be out there in every facet, whether it's social media, whether it's print media, certainly in a firm, when you're practicing real estate, or whether you're in financial services like you. It's about getting your name out there and letting people see and realize that you are credible and that you are the person that they need to hire.
Has the commercial real estate market followed the residential? I mean, it seems like it's going in the opposite direction, but what's going on with that?
That's a good point. So my whole mantra is an inch wide and a mile deep. So I am residential real estate through and through. I don't really pour over into commercial real estate, but I have the same, that's a great question. I have those same questions. I wonder how commercial real estate is doing in light of COVID with so many people now not going into the office. What's happening to that office space? Because I'm finding buyers who are looking for homes with larger home offices, greater, larger outdoor space as a result of COVID. Everybody's working from home.
I think repurposing some of that to be residential or be mixed use is something I'm seeing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's talk about the CARE Act for a second, right? You can't kick people out of their homes, right, based on the new regulations, and some of that, is going to come due. So there's got to be some shadow inventory we're not talking about. So hot or not, all this shadow inventory that might come on the market, I guess.
Right.
Is it going to be a good thing? Is it going to be horrible? Could it kill the economy? What do you think? Because there's no inventory right now.
There is not a lot of inventory. So that's a good question. And I don't know a lot about that, except that I know there's a lot of loan forgiveness going on,
Yes.
or they're putting a lot of the mortgage payments off and forgiving people. I guess it's mortgage abatement, or anyway, once that does get lifted, it will be very interesting to see that unfold and how that impacts our market. We are so tight on inventory, so I don't know if the sellers will then feel like they need to sell, or if there will be foreclosures going on and released. And I know a lot of the banks have held off foreclosing on properties, so that could definitely have an impact. But again, I just believe we have so many buyers coming into the area. I feel like if there is a surplus, it will get usurped very quickly and absorbed.
And interest rates, of course. I mean, look how low they are.
They're crazy, I know.
You could spend $100,000, $200,000 more on a home today and lock in for 30 years, right? At 2.5%, 3%,
right?
Which is quite amazing.
It is, and the buyers want to buy. There's just right now not a lot available to buy.
That's why they're coming to our door.
Right, and they're knocking on your door.
They're knocking on the door, and the
I'm
problem is,
hearing
where do
that.
we go if we sell?
And that's exactly what we're hearing. Even my sellers who have said they've wanted to take advantage, and I've sold their homes, and we're at a little bit of a crossroads because, gosh, now we've got to find them a place, and where are they going to go? And in addition to that, the rental market is also very tight. Very low inventory on rentals.
Now, are gated communities still a big trend, or do people look at that and say, well, I have a fortress in my house, why do I need a gate too?
I don't find many buyers who really demand a gated community. I don't think that that's a criteria that I see very often.
And there's not a lot of that on the waterfront anyway.
There isn't. Not in Boca Raton, but there are a couple of communities that are on the waterfront. The Sanctuary and Boca Marina Yacht Club are two beautiful communities where you can live on the water and you have no fixed bridges, direct ocean access. Both of those are probably 25 minutes to the Boca Inlet. So there are a couple, but I wouldn't say it's an absolute criteria. I do have a team who represents a celebrity that was calling me. They very much wanted a guard gated community. So you have those exceptions where people are seeking out, but for the most part, people I think are fine with or without a gated community.
So
Have
what
you ever-
about joint listings then on that topic, right? There's a lot of New York realtors that want to join forces with you because you have a lot of connections in South Florida. So joint listings, hot or not?
I haven't really had a lot. I mean, I am happy with what we do, or we do referral fees. So because they can't have a listing here because they're not licensed in Florida, so they can't technically be on the listing. And similarly, if I have a client going to the city, I can't be on that listing. So I don't know about a joint listing, but we are, like I said, we're cooperative. I am happy to pay a referral fee to any realtor out of state, if or if they have a brokerage here. Here,
And are you getting a lot of pressure to lower the real estate fee because homes are going so quick right now? Right, people saying, "Hey, the usual is 6% for a house this size, 5% or 4% commissions," but they're looking and saying the homes are selling in 24 hours. Can't we do this for 2%? And then what's your answer back?
I think that it's, what are the services that you're providing? If I can get you more than you otherwise would get, then, I haven't had the need to make that reduction. And people, frankly, haven't been asking me that. I think they're so pleased if I can bring them top dollar that pays my commission plus for them. I think it's a win for everybody.
Cool. We're going to take a quick commercial break to hear from one. When we get back, we're going to jump to our Plead the Fifth segment of the show.
Insurance companies, it's time to step out of the past and into the future with Oz's latest solution, Rainmaker. Reduce 10 years of human work to merely days using intelligent automation to process contract and claim entries. Increase job satisfaction, productivity, accuracy, data insights, and ROI, while decreasing the time spent on projects. It's a no-brainer. Follow the hashtag MakeItRain on LinkedIn and Twitter, or visit followoz.com/Rainmaker to learn more. That's FOLLOWZ.com/REINMAKER.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank. As a reminder, reach out to our guests on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and I guarantee they'll message you back. They love hearing from the audience, and catch us every week on Thursdays at 4 p.m. If you're listening on audio live on Facebook at Shrimp Tank Boca. So, Bonnie, on this segment, it's called Plead the Fifth, right? So when we ask you a question, you have to try to answer it. And if you don't want to answer it, you only get one chance. You say, I plead the fifth. But after that, be careful, because Roland and I, of course, go below the belt at times with some of our questions. So let's talk about your biggest commission. Like, everyone always wonders with these huge homes. I mean, you're in the luxury market. We see homes in Boca for $25 million, $50 million. What was your biggest commission? What was that check?
I'm going to plead the fifth.
Already?
You know what? Those financials are so personal to me. I can tell you that I will give you the best service, and my sellers are incredibly generous, and I'm so grateful to them for that. But they are hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Let's not talk about yours, but like other friends of yours. Like, how big do they get? Just give our audience a range, right, on luxury homes. Like, someone who sold a $40 million home. Like, what are we talking? Not your listing, but somebody else's. Like, what does someone make selling a $40 million home?
It's just not uncommon if you represent the listing side. I mean, our standard is 6%.
Okay.
3% to the buyer's agent, 3% to the listing agent. What I will typically do on a big listing, if I represent both the buyer and the seller, I am happy. I reduce that by 2%. Because I'm happy to take 4%. I think that's incredibly generous. It saves my seller thousands and thousands of dollars, and they're happy. And I am always looking for that win-win. I want my sellers to win, and I win in the process when I've got a happy seller.
Tell us a story about a seller who thought their house was worth a lot more than it really was, and how did you deal with that?
I often tell my sellers who do believe that we should list it at some crazy number that the market speaks to us. And I really, truly believe it does. We put it out there, and it's important to put it out there at a reasonable price so we can bring in the buyers. If I can draw those buyers in, I can sell that property. But if I'm priced so high that I can't get somebody through the door, I have no one to pitch my sale to.
Did you ever have to tell somebody this isn't real? You got to go down 2 million or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? And what I do is I don't go down so drastically. I will, in lockstep, test the market, because the market will start to strike when it's right. And I just can give my best estimate as to where that is, what that number is, and I don't want to overstep it. And so that's why conservatively I will take that price down in steps until I start to see the market respond to me.
Right. I just didn't know if you would take an initial listing that the seller wanted to take, or whether you would try to put
I'll
it low.
explain it to them, and I'll tell them, look, we can certainly start at that price, but this is the price that I recommend.
Okay.
If I don't sell your price, or if the market doesn't call me and people aren't wanting to see your property in the first 30 days of that listing, then I need your agreement in advance, because this is my time. I'm making a personal financial investment to a large extent. That seller and I are a team. And you need to listen to me, and I need to listen to you. And I get that. But, we're working together towards a common goal. So if I'm not getting that market response that I need within that first 30 days, then you need to have an agreement with me that we're going to start to take it down until I can start to get that market response. And, again, the objective is to sell your home.
Okay, I'm going to jump into some of the struggles, because you're making this sound too easy, in your business, and your business is cutthroat. It is hard. So last 20 plus years, what's been the hardest thing in business that you had to overcome? Give us some of the biggest struggles you went through. It could have been the collapse, right? There was a big collapse. We didn't talk about that. Working through.
Every day, I think it's the competition. It's a very competitive market. I wouldn't say it's cutthroat. And certainly in my business, I don't approach it like it's cutthroat. I am so competitive with myself, and that's who I compete with. And my expectations of my performance and my sales goals, I put those heavy on myself. And so I don't know, I've never let up. And even though I've come as far as I have, I still put pressure on myself. I still have those goals and trying to meet those goals. And sometimes I don't meet those goals. Nobody's perfect, but that's been very, very hard for me. But it's what I do.
And what have you learned not to do, right? Maybe the first 10 years of your career, you would do something a certain
Isn't that
way.
funny?
And now you're like, learning, looking back,
Every
I won't do
day.
X, Y, or Z.
Yeah,
So tell us some of the don'ts.
Right. Every day I live and learn in this industry. Let there be no doubt. I think one of the lessons I learned early on is, people would start telling me about their children, and then I start telling them about my children. But you know what? It's not about me. It's about them. And so you don't really need to share a lot of your personal life with these clients. Just remember, I always know your place. And now I've come to learn I totally know my place. I'm your real estate agent. I'm not your best friend. And you probably aren't so interested in knowing about how great my children is or how wonderful my husband is. It's all about you. It's about getting a home sold or buying a home for you and your family, not my family. So just keeping it, understanding your place. I'm service. And that's what I am.
Which is huge in sales. So often people, practice timing themselves, and they realize, wow, I didn't realize, if it was an hour conversation, I talk for 45 minutes, they talk for 15.
Right.
So they're thinking the conversation is going really well, because the other person's not in their head, but they're telling them all about themselves, like you're talking about. And studies show the opposite. When you talk for 15 minutes and let them talk for 45 minutes, that
right.
person leaves like, that person was great.
Yeah,
They listen to
so
everything.
True. Yes.
And, the best salespeople are the best listeners.
100%.
It's that simple. They just shut up.
Yep.
They let the other people talk, and
But
they ask open-ended questions and let them continue and keep the conversation moving along.
So you already pled the fifth, I think. Right?
She did.
No, but I'm not pleading the fifth on that.
No, you already did you already did
Oh.
once.
Oh, why you have a doozy coming?
I don't think it's a doozy.
I think he does.
What would you list your house for?
Oh,
Oh gosh, the dollar. Well, I got to tell you, so we've lived in our home for over 20 years, and honestly, I wouldn't list my home. We've just renovated our home right now, and thank goodness I did, because I've heard resources, appliances, building materials, everything has skyrocketed since COVID, because I think everybody is listing their home. So I got to tell you, I wouldn't list my home for any amount of money right now. I'm so happy where I am, and we've been there a long time, and our kids come home, and I've renovated their rooms a few times, but they just feel like it's home. So for me, that's just where I want to be.
Oh, you mentioned kids. I got a good one for you. Kids joining the family business. Gonna happen?
Gosh,
Not gonna happen.
Right. That's a great question. I have a son. My oldest son is very outgoing, a lot like me. He went to the University of Michigan engineering school. He's got a great job in engineering, and I'm telling you, he is so much better than I am at sales. I've said to him, you've got to come into real estate. But, he said, Mom, I went to college for engineering. I'm just so reluctant to give that up and go into real estate. And I was like, well, you could make so much money and you would love it. You would just meet the most fabulous clientele. So he's got it in the back of his mind, but I think he's not ripe. That's what I would say. But I would love for him to come on board. I think he would be dynamite.
Is your husband an entrepreneur as well? What is
My husband is a technology guy. He went to MIT undergrad, graduate school MIT. So he's so much smarter than me on so many different levels. He works for a fabulous company here in Boca Raton. They do a lot of intelligence for, the police departments, Palm Beach County Police Department, Broward County Police Department, the Port Authority. They've got some great contracts. So he's in a different lane, and it's probably a good thing. Otherwise, I think we might crash.
He probably knows Scott Adams.
He does. Scott Adams he works for Scott Adams, actually.
Oh, okay.
And Scott is wonderful, and they've got an incredible company there.
She laid it up for a Plead the Fifth if you want to try to get her a second time there, Roland.
I just want to know if you've ever had to sell a haunted house.
Oh, boy. Thankfully, I haven't. And I'm such a scaredy cat that if I ever thought there might be a haunted house or the house was haunted, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably suck it up and just brave it, because I would never want to give up that listing. But I've never sold a haunted house that I am aware of.
Have you ever sold a house where the person owned a yacht that was more expensive than their house?
I have. That I have. And, these boats are so expensive. Some of them, you just wouldn't, millions of dollars, even a boat like there's a Freeman boat. I mean, and then there's so much money and you can't even get them. They're in such high demand. They can't make them fast enough. So even the older models, if you want to sell it, you could probably sell it for much, much more than you buy it for. And that's not typical in the boating industry. They say they depreciate usually, but there's some out there that go the opposite direction.
Let's talk about rude clients for a moment. What's the rudest thing that you've seen in the past 10 years, let's say, and just give us a story, what someone did while you were listing their home or showing a buyer around. Give us some rude stories, or one in particular.
Oh, gosh, a rude story. I think there are some clients that are, just at the top of their game, and they just feel like everything has to be their way. And they've been difficult, but I think I have managed to wade through that and work with them. I really don't have a horror story, but I try to listen and try to talk to them. And I do tell them what I think. I don't hold my thoughts back, because I feel like part of my value to you is for me to actually impart what I believe, and real estate's my expertise. So as for anything else and about their businesses or about who knows life, I have no doubt they know more than me. But in the realm of real estate, I am the authority, and I'm not shy to tell them what I think. And I think as long as you are firm, polite, you know your data, you've got the facts behind you, then they listen. They do listen.
What about fraud stories, right? These are big homes, $10 million. $10 million is
So-
cash. You said all cash buyers all the time.
Right,
So give us a
right.
fraud one. Someone got
So
arrested.
I would say-
really selling 20 pounds of marijuana for
Right.
about $10 million or cocaine, right? And later you sold it and you're like, they're in prison, right?
Right. So there is a crazy story. I would say in my second year. So now I've been in the market for over 20 years. In my second year, I had a buyer call me and he told me his name. And he told me that he was in a rock band. And, you know, I like music, but I'm not, you know, in the groove. I don't know all these rock bands. I've heard of it, but he told me he was the drummer, and I Googled it, and his name was the same as the drummer in this rock band, and I saw pictures, and he looked like the guy. And we would go places, and he was looking, you know, at homes. It was actually in Fort Lauderdale, and people would come up to him and follow him, and he had an entourage. So I really kind of thought that, you know, of course, this is the guy. And these people I never heard of or knew would come up and ask him for his autograph, and he played that along. And as it turned out, about 2 weeks after I had been, you know, I probably took him out twice or maybe 3 times, he called me up and said, Bonnie, I need your American Express bill, your American Express number, because I'm at a hotel and I forgot, did I drop my Amex in your car? And I had this guy in my car. And I said, well, let me check, because I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want your Amex is in my car. I'll get that for you right away. So of course there was nothing in my car. And he said, so can you give me your Amex? I mean, can you give me your credit card? And my husband was right next to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, my first reaction was, sure. And my husband was motioning to me, what are you doing? Like, you're not going to give this guy your card. And I said, but he's that big famous drummer, you know, of that.
Like, he's not going anywhere. He's famous.
Right, exactly. And my husband came down on me and said, think about what you're doing. That is not the right thing to do. So then I thought, and I sort of was discombobulated. And so I was gathering my thoughts, and I said, well, you know, and I started to say, you know, I'm sorry, I just don't think that's a good idea. Anyway, as it turned out, he was a fake. And what happened was, I was contacted by the police I called the police because he was a fraud. Something had come up, and this was so long ago, so I haven't really thought about
So
this
did he
story.
have a fake entourage, or was it?
That's what
or
I
he looked,
think.
Or he looked
So
like the real person.
He looked just like this guy.
Okay.
He had
So there was
3
a real
girls
star out there.
with him all the
Acting,
time.
yeah.
So I don't know, they must have been paying him. But the craziest thing was, I think that these entourage fake people would go into crowds and say, have you heard of this big famous band? That's the guy. And he did look like that guy. So all these people that were not affiliated with him would line up, and he was giving autographs. I've just
Give
couldn't
this guy
believe it.
credit. I mean, it's
he
before
fooled
his
everybody.
time.
He
This is
was
before, like, how long ago was
truly
this?
a fraud. This was about 17 years ago. Crazy.
Way ahead of his time. You think about how many people are doing this on social media today, right? They created that movie Fake Famous. You know, I just saw it over the weekend on HBO, where they literally take 3 normal people that have small Instagram followings, and they start buying bots, they start buying followers, they start dressing them up, taking photos, and ready? They become famous.
Oh my God.
So they're start getting invited because they have a huge following, and they're like getting invited to, you know,
Isn't that what
all
you're
these things
doing? Aren't you doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. Right here on the shrimp tank, of course. But it's crazy because nowadays that's happening all together.
Wow.
People are faking on social media, buying followers, and then buying likes, buying comments.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
presenting in front of nice big mansions, right? And acting like they own the Lamborghini, acting like they own the airplane, but it's a toilet seat, right? And they show how that's all done.
Wow.
And they were joking around, of course. The director that made it, but then they actually really did it. They started getting real followers once they got to a certain, amount of, just velocity going through their profiles.
I had one last question.
Go for it.
Obviously, this job is a lot of fun for you. Do you do anything else for fun, and are you engaged in the community at all? Tell us a little bit about what you do when you're not doing this.
Right. So it is a lot of fun. It does consume a lot of me. I do love our community here in Boca Raton, and right now I am working on an effort for to just get involved and try to inspire young girls. I love women's issues. I really want to reach out to them and be an inspiration, even with the Boys and Girls Club. I mean, just children in general. I grew up in a very loving, warm home, and my father is truly the American dream. My grandfather was a dishwasher at night, and he was a janitor at a high school during the day, and my grandmother worked sewing holiday ornaments, and my father grew up in a one-bedroom apartment, and he slept with next to my grandmother in the family room because his parents had the bedroom in a basement in New York City. And he went on to get his PhD from Duke University and later became a college president. And I saw my dad up there just with crowds, and he would give, speeches. I'll never forget his inauguration, and Alex Haley, the author of Roots, was there, and I was so proud of him. And most of all, my grandmother stood up, so proud, and she was this little tiny lady, and she said, "That's my son." But he just embodies the American dream, and it's just that anybody can do the impossible. I really believe that. And for people that are underprivileged, just like he was, there is a path to success for you. And I saw that in my father. He inspired me, and I would love nothing more than to reach out my hand and inspire. If I inspire one little girl or one little boy, that would just be a dream come true. So I am now working on an effort, trying to organize something where I can actually achieve that dream.
Cool.
Well, Bonnie, thanks for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank today. If the audience wants to reach out and get in touch with you, what's the best route?
You can find me. My website is bonnieheatzig.com, and that's Heatzig, HEATZIG.com. You can always find me on Instagram at Bonnie Heatzig. And my telephone number is reachable. I'm usually picking it up at 561-251-0321. Thank you both so much. What a pleasure. What a lot of fun this was.
Awesome. And everyone listening, we'll be back next Thursday at 4 p.m. Take care, everybody.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it take a swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Doing big things, chasing big dreams. Yeah, it's all real. This life's all that it seems. All the chicks scream, all the dudes yell. This is just what I do, and I do it well.